Help me reach my goal and subscribe. And hit the bell icon.
Chapter 69:11. Seeing Bernard being so sensible, Charlie said to him with satisfaction, "As for Blackwater, you still need to continue to give them some eye drops. Since your president wants to summon you, it must be big news in Europe. Remember to mention Blackwater more during the summons. It would be best if your president could come forward and protest to their government and ask them to thoroughly investigate Blackwater." Bernard immediately said categorically, "Don't worry, Mr. Wade. I will do everything I can to keep the White Horse Island incident hot during this period. I plan to go there in a while and give Blackwater a heads up." "How do you plan to put some pressure on Blackwater when you go there?" Charlie asked him. Bernard smiled attentively and said, "Mr. Wade, what I want to do is to go to the United Nations headquarters and donate $10 million or $20 million to their Office of Counterterrorism, so that they can use this money to promote and enhance the publicity and implementation of anti-terrorism. If for nothing else, just to slap Blackwater in the face." Charlie nodded and said appreciatively, "This is a good idea. I like this style of doing things when I go to Blackwater's lair and slap them in the face." Bernard saw that Charlie liked his plan. He immediately smiled and said, "I am very honored to be recognized by Mr. Wade." Charlie changed the subject and said, "But since you are going to the United Nations, don't just donate $10 or $20 million. It's not enough. Donating more can also attract more attention." Bernard felt a little pain, but still gritted his teeth and said, "Okay. Since Mr. Wade said so, then I will donate $100 million. Charlie smiled and nodded. "Yes, I may not be as good as you in business, but I think that, as a person, it is not necessarily a bad thing to expand the pattern and loosen up the gaps between your fingers. Don't care about the little gains and losses in front of you." Bernard said against his will, "Mr. Wade, you are right." Charlie smiled and said, "Don't worry. I won't let you suffer a loss. Do you remember how much you spent on the last rejuvenation pill?" Bernard didn't know why Charlie asked this, so he said, "About more than $100 billion. Didn't you ask me to match a lot of goods at that time?" Charlie nodded and said, "I will never let my friends suffer a loss. You are my friend now, so I can make a promise to you. When you spend $50 billion here, you don't have to participate in any auctions. I will give you a rejuvenation pill directly. $50 billion, just give me a rejuvenation pill." Bernard's eyes almost popped out of his eye sockets. $50 billion, it seems like an astronomical figure. But compared to the lifespan that a rejuvenation pill can bring, it is a great deal for Bernard. Because his group, even in the context of economic depression, made a net profit of €20 billion last year. €20 billion is almost $23 billion. Although Bernard Arnault is not the only boss and shareholder of the group, at least half of it will go into his personal pocket. After various ways of tax avoidance, the actual profit he can get is at least $10 billion a year. A rejuvenation pill can not only make Bernard Arnault live 20 years longer, but also make him more than $200 billion. In comparison, what is $50 billion? So, in ecstasy, he held Charlie's hand and asked with red eyes, "Mr. Wade, are you kidding me?" Charlie said lightly, "Of course not. We have an old saying, a gentleman's words are hard to go back." "Great, great. Bernard was so excited that he kept turning around in circles. He subconsciously said to Charlie, "Mr. Wade, is there anything else you need me to spend money on? If not, I will try to get you $50 billion. It can be collected in a week at most." Charlie waved his hand. "If you buy it directly, the price will not be this high. If you buy it directly, it will start at least $100 billion. Bernard was confused. "Then, what do you mean by 50 billion? Charlie smiled and said, "In the future, I may need your help with many things. You can calculate how much money you spend each time you help. And we will use this amount as the standard. Remember, it must be my asking and you must fulfill it. It counts only if you spend money on it. If you spend money on your own initiative without my permission, it doesn't count." He paused for a moment, looked at Bernard's impatient expression, and continued. "Don't you luxury goods people like to use points and membership levels? Different membership levels have different service levels, different discounts, and different products. In addition, some can also exchange points for gifts. Just think that for every dollar you spend with me, you can accumulate 1 point. When you accumulate 50 billion points, you can ask me to exchange them for a rejuvenation pill." Chapter 69:12. Bernard was very excited. This idea is really great. Mr. Wade, when will we officially start implementing it? Charlie smiled and said, "Look, let's start the calculation from now on. If you donate $100 million to the United Nations Counterterrorism Office, then the 100 million will be included. When it accumulates to 50 billion, it will be redeemed." Bernard immediately blurted out, "Then I will donate 50 billion to them directly. Give me some time, I will go to raise funds, and when I raise enough, I will go to America and give $50 billion directly to the United Nations." Charlie asked with a dark face, "Do you look like an ungrateful person, or do I look like an ungrateful person? Even if I want to slap Blackwater in the face, we can't use 50 billion to fight them, right? Are they worth the price?" Bernard said awkwardly. "Mr. Wade, I mainly want to meet your consumption requirements as soon as possible." Charlie waved his hand. "You have to remember, only the consumption I ask you to consume counts. And the consumption you make on your own does not count. If I don't ask, even if you give $50 billion to my mother-in-law, I won't give you any points." Charlie was afraid that Bernard would randomly use bugs to gain experience. If he chose Elaine to gain experience, wouldn't it be equivalent to using money to kill Elaine? This might be the way Elaine most hoped to die. And he couldn't let her get her wish. Bernard understood what Charlie meant and asked him quickly, "Mr. Wade, please tell me how much I can spend at the United Nations this time." Charlie held up 2 fingers. "At most $200 million. Bernard nodded immediately. "Okay. Then I will donate $200 million to them." At this point, he said to Charlie in a decadent manner, "Mr. Wade, you have to give me more opportunities to spend money. If it's only 100 or 200 million every time, I don't know when I can save up 50 billion points." Bernard suddenly felt that he had become the protagonist of Brewster's Millions. In the movie, Brewster had to spend $30 million within the specified time. If he couldn't spend it, he would have to take out a legacy of $300 million. Bernard is not afraid of spending a lot of money now. but only afraid of spending less and spending slowly. It would be best if Charlie could spend $50 billion overnight. If he couldn't spend it or spent it too slowly, it would make him anxious. Charlie saw that his face was full of anxiety, so he said, "Don't worry. This time, when you go to the United States, I can give you another chance to double your points. If you seize it, you can get 400 million points by spending these $200 million. Bernard said quickly, "Mr. Wade, tell me." Charlie said, "When you go to the United Nations to donate $200 million to the Counterterrorism Office, you must remind them that this money can only be used for counterterrorism work outside the United States and outside the areas firmly controlled by the United States. For example, this money cannot be used for counterterrorism in there. Nor can it be used for counterterrorism in the Middle East, where they actually control the territories." Bernard said in surprise, "Mr. Wade, you want me to slap them in their face?" "That's right." Charlie nodded. He wanted to slap them in the face. Otherwise, they would keep trying to cover up Blackwater. Rack their brains to exonerate Blackwater. Or make a big deal out of a small matter. Bernard pointed to his forehead and said awkwardly, "Mr. Wade, their current commander-in-chief is a little different from normal people in this place. If I say so, I'm afraid they will find reasons to sanction me." Charlie asked him, "How much is your group's net profit there in a year?" Bernard said, "North America accounts for about 25% of all net profits, which is about €5 billion. Excluding the Canadian market's 20% share, the United States is about $4 billion. Charlie nodded, waved his hand, and said generously, "Don't be afraid, this time we will go directly to them and try every means to make them sanction you. If they make you lose $4 billion a year in that market. Although I can't compensate you for the $4 billion. It will also be regarded as the amount you spent for me. And I will also give you 4 billion points." In the last second, Bernard was still afraid that he would be sanctioned. But in this second, he suddenly felt invincible. He felt like he had obtained a god-level equipment in the game. Other people's equipment was to resist attacks as much as possible. Or to counterattack attacks, but his equipment could convert the opponent's attacks into his own health bar. In other words, the harder others hit him, the healthier he would be. He instantly had a strong urge to burst his chest. He wanted to rush there and do everything he could to make them sanction him crazily. And he must not let them show mercy. It would be best to directly kill all his businesses right away. At this moment, Bernard was extremely excited. For the first time in his 70-year life, he had a strong aversion to money. How to quickly spend $50 billion on Charlie has become his most anticipated thing now. What is the hot topic? Shut the FCK up and take my fucking money. Stop talking nonsense, take my money quickly. He felt that Charlie was also very bad. He could spend $50 billion as he wanted. And he had to listen to his orders and wait for his instructions. This really made him a little impatient. Chapter 69:13. However, when he thought of the losses caused by the hard confrontation, Charlie would count them as points for himself. In just a few seconds, he thought of various ideas for this trip to gain experience. Didn't Charlie say it? As long as the money lost due to sanctions from the United States is counted as experience. This is too easy to do. It's hard to make money on your knees these days. And it's even harder to make money standing up. But if you want to lose money standing up, Then even if you give a dog a bowl of dog food, the dog will do it. So, he patted his chest and said to Charlie, "Mr. Wade, you can wait and see the news in a few days. I will definitely go to the United States to make a big fuss about this matter." Charlie nodded and snorted and laughed. "I'm optimistic about you, keep working hard." Hamid, who was watching from the side, was secretly shocked. His brother Wade was really incomparable. He could control Bernard with just one pill. If he had twice his ability, he might even become the commander-in-chief in Syria. The more he felt that Charlie was capable, the more he felt that he was really lucky. He kidnapped a few stupid students, and ended up attracting Charlie. A true god, who not only cured his lameness, but also helped him resist the attacks of the government forces and the front, and continued to consolidate his strength in the war. This time, Charlie turned the tide. He had really been saved by him too many times in his life. It's a pity that he is a man with a big beard. If he were AS3XY beauty, he would give birth to 8 children for Charlie first and then talk about other things. Bernard was in a good mood, so he said to Charlie, "Mr. Wade, can you and your family come to the New Year's Eve dinner this afternoon?" Charlie knew that he had organized a New Year's Eve dinner for the Chinese guests, and he could also watch the Spring Festival Gala. So he was happy to join in the fun. But when he thought about what happened last night, which was a sensation around the world, countless people were paying attention to this small Whitehorse Island. And the tourists on the island had more than 100,000 people online when they did a live broadcast. If someone broadcast the New Year's Eve dinner tonight, wouldn't he be exposed worldwide? So he told him, "So, you will have someone issue a notice later, saying that for safety reasons, from now on, until every guest leaves Whitehorse Island, no one is allowed to use mobile phones in public places and areas. If they can comply until the moment of leaving the island, each person can get the compensation of $100,000. Otherwise, Whitehorse Island has the right to take back the compensation. In addition, all participants in tonight's New Year's Eve dinner are not allowed to bring mobile phones." Bernard knew that Charlie was low-key, so he immediately nodded and said, "Okay, Mr. Wade, don't worry, I'll take care of it." After the three of them finished chatting and said goodbye to each other, Bernard returned to the villa where he was staying. The first thing he did was to call the person in charge of North America immediately. A series of preparations was arranged in advance. And then his assistant contacted the United Nations Counterterrorism Office to inform the other party of the decision to donate. The name of the United Nations sounds cool, but what is its presence? Its positioning is a bit similar to the royal family of a constitutional monarchy. In name, it is quite powerful, the Emperor of the 9-5. Supreme. But the real power of the country is in the hands of the parliament. When something happens, the powerful will ask it to come out and take charge of the situation. But it is just a show. In fact, members, particularly the permanent ones, do not give it face at all. And many of the members who give it face, it itself does not look down on. Because they are all a bunch of poor relatives. They seem to come to visit you with a bag of local specialties. But in fact, their houses are falling apart. And they want you to pay for them to build 2 villas and marry 2 wives. Suddenly, hearing that the former richest man in the world is coming to donate, the relevant staff of the United Nations were very excited and immediately prepared to welcome Bernard. So, Bernard decided to go back to France to see the president tomorrow. Accept some media interviews the day after tomorrow. Firmly express his attitude. And then immediately take his private plane to the United States to gain experience. In the afternoon, Bernard fulfilled his promise. All guests who landed on the island, whether adults or children, received compensation of $100,000 each. Charlie and Claire gave this right to Jacob and Elaine. So the couple each received $200,000. Today is New Year's Eve, which is the biggest festival in China. The old couple got a windfall again, so they were extremely happy. So they went to the restaurant to celebrate the New Year, at around 4 o'clock. The family left the guest room and came to the commercial area of Whitehorse Island. They found that there were lights and decorations everywhere. The decorations related to the Chinese New Year were already hung up and looked very festive. What Charlie's family didn't expect was that in addition to the restaurant, where the hotel provided a New Year's Eve dinner for Chinese tourists, there was actually a professional lion dance team performing hard. Chapter 69:14. Charlie couldn't help but be curious. In a place like Whitehorse Island, all foreign materials are purchased from outside the island. Where did they get so many Chinese New Year-related materials? Just as he was wondering, he saw an old man in a red tang suit standing at the door of the restaurant. He kept greeting every guest who came in, and even kept taking out red envelopes with Chinese New Year written on them from his pocket, and handed them to every guest with both hands. Charlie looked closely and found that it was Bernard Arnault. He didn't expect that this old guy would dress himself in a bright red tang suit. With his full head of silver hair, he looked like a mascot. Elaine recognized him at a glance and said quickly, "The boss of the luxury group is actually giving out red envelopes. Let's go and see how much money this old man can give." As she said that, she took the lead and walked in front. Bernard also saw Charlie at this moment. In order to avoid Charlie's family's suspicion, he just smiled and signaled to Charlie with his eyes, and then handed a red envelope to Elaine, who had come to him. "Ms. Ma, Happy Chinese New Year. Wish you good fortune and prosperity." As he said, he handed a red envelope to her. Elaine felt the thickness of the red envelope and felt a little disappointed. She couldn't help but complain in her heart. "It feels like there are only 2 bills in this red envelope at most. Even if they are all $100, it's only $200. This old man is still not broad-minded enough. He should give at least $1,000, right?" Because the red envelope was not thick enough, she lost the urge to find out immediately. She stuffed the red envelope into her pocket and said with a smile, "Oh, congratulations on your wealth, Boss Arnault. I hope you have a prosperous business and good health in the new year." Bernard was also very happy, and said with a smile, "Thank you for your blessings, Ms. Ma. Then I will borrow your good words." Elaine whispered, "If someone gives you a lot of blessings, you must also return them with more of the red envelope. It's called reciprocity, understand?" Bernard was a little confused at first, but his mind was quick after all. And he soon understood what Elaine meant and laughed. "Thank you, Ms. Ma, for reminding me. I have mastered another knowledge point about Chinese customs." Then, he quickly took out another red envelope and handed it to her, smiling. "Ms. Ma, I also wish you good health and all the best in the new year." Elaine took the red envelope with a smile, and then quickly made up for herself. "Mr. Arnault, you are the big boss. I won't give you a red envelope back." At this time, Charlie, Claire, and Jacob also came to the front. Bernard quickly took out 3 more red envelopes and said Happy New Year to everyone. Jacob took the red envelope and bowed to express his gratitude happily. However, Claire did not take the red envelope. She just said politely, "Thank you for the blessing, Mr. Arno. And I wish you a Happy New Year. But you don't have to spend money on the red envelope." Elaine quickly said, "Oh, Claire, the red envelope is just for good luck. For Mr. Arno, it is not a big deal. If you are embarrassed, Mom will keep it for you." As she spoke, Elaine's hand reached out and took the red envelope. Claire said with some dissatisfaction, "Oh, Mom, can you stop being so obsessed with money?" Bernard hurried to smooth things over. "Mrs. Wade, don't take it so seriously. There's not much money in the red envelope. It's just €1,000. It's mainly for good luck." Elaine's eyes lit up, and she thought to herself, "Wow, such a thin red envelope, but there is actually €1,000 in it. The euro is more valuable than the US dollar. This old man is really willing to spend." Bernard then looked at Charlie, handed over the red envelope, and said with a smile, "Mr. Wade, I wish you a Happy New Year." Charlie smiled and nodded, took the red envelope, handed it to Elaine casually, and said, "Mom, keep it as a souvenir." Elaine squinted her eyes, smiled with wrinkles on her face, and said happily, "Since my good son-in-law said so, then Mom will keep it for you." Charlie asked Bernard with interest, "Mr. Arno, where did you get these materials for the Lunar New Year and this lion dance team?" Bernard smiled and said, "I especially asked people to purchase them from Dubai. They were urgently airlifted here early this morning." The lion dance team was also invited from Dubai, hoping to give the Chinese guests on the island a sense of home. Then, Bernard said, "By the way, Mr. Wade, I specially invited some professional Chinese chefs from Dubai. They will be in charge of the New Year's Eve dinner tonight. I hope you and your family will enjoy it." Charlie nodded and said with a smile, "Mr. Arno is thoughtful." Bernard was praised and smiled with a lot of wrinkles on his face. Then he whispered to Charlie, "Mr. Wade, in order to make you and your family happy, I specially arranged a lottery. The first prize is $100 million. Your family can win it through a secret operation. What do you think?" Charlie was very angry and lowered his voice angrily. "If you keep thinking about this kind of bad idea, I will increase the experience value for exchanging for rejuvenation pills to 500 billion. Chapter 69:15. There are about 40 Chinese tourists on Whitehorse Island. If they were arranged according to the common Chinese banquet rules, the several families would have to sit together. However, the restaurant did not follow the traditional Chinese banquet style of 8 or 10 people per table. Instead, the chef designed a set of menus for individual dishes, according to the Japanese kaiseki style. The menu details were written on paper. One set for each person, and all were separate meals. This menu has a total of 16 dishes, according to the Chinese custom. There are 4 cold dishes, 4 stir-fried dishes, 4 stews, 2 soups, and 2 meals. In addition, a variety of Chinese liquors are prepared for guests to choose from. The benefits of this are obvious. When each person is served, they only have a small portion of individual dishes. They don't have to share tableware with others. And there will be no extra waste. The most important thing is that several people can sit together. Under normal circumstances, couples who go out to play can't finish eating after ordering 3 or 4 dishes. It is too wasteful to serve all 16 dishes. And sharing a table affects the experience. This way of separating meals is very friendly to small families of 2, 3, or 4 people traveling. During the meal, Bernard Arnault specifically asked the waiter to bring white wine and toast the guests at each table. At this moment, he looked no different from Chinese people except for his European appearance and skin. At 5 p.m. local time in the Maldives, the live broadcast of the Spring Festival Gala began on time. The status of the Spring Festival Gala in China is like the Super Bowl in the United States. And it is even more important than the Super Bowl. So even if it is not so good to watch, most Chinese people are still willing to sit in front of the TV and watch it. For several consecutive years, the largest title sponsor of the Spring Festival Gala was internet companies, especially Taobao, which had the highest appearance rate. But this year, the largest title sponsor of the Spring Festival Gala finally changed to a physical enterprise. The Changjiang Automobile. Although Changjiang Automobile has not yet produced its actual car and has not released any models, the various preheats in the past period of time and the in-depth linkage cooperation with Tawana have made this brand earn enough attention. Now, it has become the largest title sponsor of the Spring Festival Gala. And its popularity will inevitably increase significantly. After thanking Changjiang Automobile for its sponsorship and title, the host also announced to all the audience that Changjiang Automobile's first model will be officially released on July 1st. The first year of the second half of the year. This news shocked the audience in front of the TV and people in the automotive industry. The Changjiang Automobile is very fast. But they didn't expect it to be so fast. The first car will be released on the first day of the second half of the year. This speed is much faster than Remy. But what they don't know is that Changjiang Automobile has more cash reserves than the entire Remy Group. Not to mention Remy Automobile. In today's society, it is always easier to get things done with money. With the blessing of sufficient funds, the speed of all links will be doubled. According to He Yuanxiang's plan, Changjiang Automobile's first mass-produced car will be designed in the first half of this year. And after it is officially released in the third quarter of the second half of the year, it will officially start delivery in the fourth quarter. Although Changjiang Automobile's first car is still under intensive design, its basic positioning is very clear. That is, a new energy medium and large SUV with a price range of 250,000 to 350,000. In the Chinese market, SUVs have always received a lot of attention. Many car reviewers who worship foreigners like to play tricks on the preferences of Chinese people. They say that Chinese people don't understand cars and don't look at anything else when buying a car. Only at the size. Unlike foreigners who are well versed in car culture, they prefer small cars with strong control. In fact, this kind of statement is pure nonsense in Charlie's view. Why do Chinese people like bigger cars? That's because most Chinese families with cars only have one car. They have to save money to buy a car. Not only do they have to take care of themselves and their wives, who are going to work and picking up children from school, but they also want to take care of the occasional 3-generation tour. Therefore, the car must not only be able to carry people, but also have enough space to carry luggage. In European and American countries, a family has at least 2 cars. And some even have 3 cars. They can naturally match the models according to their own needs and preferences. Moreover, these reviewers clearly know that one of the best-selling models in the US market is a huge pickup truck that can carry a lot of cargo. Under the current conditions, if a family can only spend 50,000 yuan to buy a car, they will naturally buy a compact and cheap small car.